Mom, Dad, breakfast is ready.
My little sister stood at the dining table in our parents' house, waiting patiently to serve them breakfast.
Oh, sweetie, you shouldn't have. I just thought I'd do something for your anniversary. Aw, you're such an angel. Get it?
My mom laughed at her own joke. I rolled my eyes and fake gagged.
Mind your manners, Adam. Your sister really worked hard on this.
It's bacon and eggs, Mom, and it's not even your anniversary. She wants something. Angel sniffed and wiped her eyes. I couldn't believe my parents were falling for her act. She had done it so many times.
I'm really sorry I got your anniversary date wrong. I've been so busy with school and volunteering at the animal shelter. I just got confused. Oh, honey, no need to apologize. Our anniversary isn't for another 4 months, but it's the thought that counts.
Wait for it, I thought to myself. Angel typed on her phone. A few minutes later, she looked up.
Well, I had booked a weekend getaway for both of you. I'm trying to cancel, but the resort says it's too late. This is so not fair. Don't be upset, honey. We wish we could go, but we are busy this weekend. How about we refund you for the money?
And there it is. Gosh, she was good.
Oh, you don't have to do that, but we want to. How much did you spend? $1,000?
$1,000? Does it come with gold flecks in your food?
I wanted the best for them. No need to be sarcastic.
My parents gave me a look I'd seen so many times before. Disappointment. That look was always directed at me, never at Angel. When my little sister was born, my parents thought she was a perfect angel. They literally named her Angel. Boy, were they wrong. Before I continue, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Also hit that notification bell so you never miss other cool videos like this one. Minutes later, I watched as Angel laughed at something she was reading on her phone. Don't you feel even the least bit guilty? You just lied to Mom and Dad.
You're just jealous you didn't think of it first.
It's $1,000, Angel. That's a lot of money.
Oh, please. We both know Dad spends a lot more than that on Shelly, and Mom would spend that on a stupid handbag.
I had to admit, she was right. Our parents were loaded. Angel was the perfect daughter. Straight A student, student body president, and everyone's choice for homecoming queen. She volunteered at the animal shelter because she loved animals. At least that's what she told my parents. I knew she did it because her boyfriend Ethan volunteered there too. His dad was the mayor. How's it going at the shelter? Any new furry friends?
Ugh, don't remind me. I saw a flea the last time I went.
I laughed. I better get going. It's a long drive back to college. Don't kill our parents while I'm away.
Goodbye, big brother.
A few weeks later, I was about to leave my dorm room for class when I got a call from Dad.
Adam, you need to come home. Angel is missing.
I could hear Mom crying in the background. What? Since when? Did you check with her friends?
Just come home now, Adam. Your sister needs you.
After Dad hung up, I dialed Angel's secret number. My parents didn't have it. It went straight to voicemail. What have you done now? If this is one of your games, it's not funny. Mom and Dad are worried sick. Call me back. I packed a bag and got in my car. I couldn't wait to see what she had done this time. It was dark when I got home. There was a police car parked outside. I guess this was more serious than I thought. Mom, I'm home. What's going on? Mom ran and threw herself in my arms. Well, that was new. Dad was talking to a lady I had not seen before.
Adam, my name is Detective Shaw. When was the last time you spoke to your sister?
She got out her notepad waiting for my answer. Mom still hadn't let go. 2 days ago, she called to tell me about some date she was going on. She never mentioned who she was going with.
But we found her smartphone in her room and we didn't see any calls between you two.
Here we go. Angel has another phone. The look on my parents' face was comical. They went from shocked to betrayed and finally to angry.
Why would you lie about something like that, Adam? Detective, if my Angel had another phone, we'd know. Adam just wants to stir up trouble.
Unbelievable. For God's sake, Mom, when will you ever realize that your perfect angel is the devil? Mom burst into tears. Dad looked horrified. I'd had enough of this. I'll tell you everything you need to know, Detective. Then I'm getting out of here. I told her everything Angel did behind my parents' backs. By the time I was done, my mom was hysterical. She asked me to leave immediately. Detective Shaw gave me her card and told me to call in case I remembered anything else. As I was leaving, I saw a truck pull up. It belonged to the local TV station. I bet Angel was loving this. I wouldn't be surprised if she was hiding behind some bushes watching my parents' world implode.
Adam? Hey, I'm Ethan, Angel's boyfriend.
No wonder Angel risked catching fleas. Adam looked like he just walked off a magazine cover. Ah, hey, do you know where she is? My parents are freaking out.
I don't. That's why my dad and I are here.
He pointed at the news truck. The mayor was addressing a couple of reporters. You think she's really missing? This isn't just one of her mind games?
What are you talking about? What mind games?
Great, Ethan was just as oblivious as my parents. Forget I said anything. Let's hope she's found safe. Gotta go.
Adam, wait. There's something I think you should tell the police. Angel has a stalker. This guy, Joe Palmer. You went to school together? He asked Angel out a couple of times, but she wasn't interested.
That hardly makes him a stalker. I remembered Joe. I hadn't seen him in over a year.
A few weeks ago, he started showing up at the shelter. He'd ask around for Angel. I told him to stay away from her. Do you think he might have done something to her?
Something like what?
Who knows? Maybe he got tired of Angel rejecting him and took matters into his own hands.
My head hurt. I needed to get out of here. As I was driving back to college, I thought about my conversation with Ethan. Why would Joe be stalking Angel? He used to come to our house all the time and never showed any interest in Angel. I had to talk to him. I made a U-turn and drove back into my hometown. Joe lived in an apartment close to the garage he worked at as a mechanic. When I got to his place, the first thing I noticed was Angel's car. It was locked, but I could see a phone on the driver's seat. It was her secret phone. Ethan had made it sound like Angel wanted nothing to do with Joe. Why would her car be here? I walked to Joe's front door and rang the bell. Nobody answered. The place looked deserted. His mail was piled on the doormat. I turned the front door lock and was surprised when it opened. Angel, Joe, it's me, Adam. Nobody answered. What I saw next scared the living daylights out of me. There were hundreds of photos on the living room floor and on the furniture. All were of Angel. Some had the word mine written on them in red. The TV was on.
Police have this afternoon named Joseph Palmer, alias Joe, as a person of interest in the disappearance of local girl Angel Cordello. This comes after a witness claimed to have seen Joe lurking at the Cordello residence on the night Angel disappeared. Angel, 19, was reported missing by her parents after she failed to come home and her phone went unanswered.
I'd seen enough. I called Detective Shaw. She told me they were already on their way and not to touch anything. The room creeped me out, so I went back outside. As I was coming out the door, I saw a car pull up. I knew that car. I'd seen that car that morning at my parents' house.
I'm here. Where did you say the phone was?
What was Ethan doing here and who was he talking to? I watched as he unlocked Angel's car and took out her phone. He then walked back to his car. He didn't see me. He also didn't recognize my car. I couldn't let Ethan drive off. He obviously knew what happened to Angel. He even had her car keys. I called Detective Shaw again.
Adam, we told you to wait for us. We're on our way.
But you don't understand. She hung up on me. Ethan would be long gone by the time she and her team got here. I had to do something. I ran to my car and followed Ethan's car. I tried Detective Shaw's phone again, but she didn't pick up. After about half an hour, Ethan turned off the highway and onto a dirt road. I knew that road. It led to a cabin overlooking a small lake. The property belonged to the mayor, Ethan's dad. Since the road was deserted, I didn't want to risk Ethan seeing my car, so I parked behind some bushes and walked the rest of the way. I got to the cabin just as Ethan was getting out of his car. He was carrying bags of what looked like takeout food. What was he up to? Just then, the cabin door opened, and you wouldn't believe who walked out. It was Angel. She ran and threw her arms around Ethan before kissing him. I knew it. She wasn't in any danger. This just was another one of her games. Angel, how could you do this to Mom and Dad? They're going out of their minds. I turned to Ethan. You knew where she was this whole time? Angel looked shocked for a second, then a smile spread across her face. I saw a cat smile like that once.
You always were a nosy one. Didn't you say he had driven back to college? You led him right to us.
She was talking to Ethan now. I'm calling Mom. As I went to get my phone from my pocket, Ethan grabbed me from behind. What do you think you're doing?
I'm sorry, Adam. You should have kept driving.
Something pricked my neck. What? The last thing I saw was Angel opening the door to the cabin. I had a massive headache. I opened my eyes and tried to focus on where I was. I was about to speak when I remembered what had happened. My sister's boyfriend had drugged me.
Okay, everything is ready. Here, hold this.
Ethan handed Angel a newspaper. He was wearing a mask.
Make sure today's date is visible. Now, talk.
My name is Angel Cordello. I have a message for my parents. Mom? Dad? I'm so sorry. I was kidnapped. They're asking for $5 million in cash or they'll kill me. Drop it off at the fountain in the park. You have until noon tomorrow.
Ethan turned off the camera mounted in front of Angel, then started to slow clap.
How was that?
You were perfect, baby.
The knife was a little too much, though.
I had to make it look believable. Just like your photos and your car at Joe's apartment. Did I scare you?
I'm not afraid of you.
What now?
Now you send the video to my mom. Then you go crying to your daddy. I'm sure you'll help my mom and dad come up with the money.
You're scary.
And don't you forget that.
I was going to be sick. This whole thing was about money?
I know we agreed to get rid of Joe, but what about Adam?
Angel was silent. Was she actually considering killing me?
Let me think about it. Go get our money. And be careful out there. You know, if you die, I'll just say you were working with Joe.
Ethan laughed nervously. As soon as he went out the door, I sat up and looked around. The cabin was empty except for 2 couches, a small fridge, and a microwave. They were all new. Angel and Ethan must have been planning this for a while. Angel.
Shut up!
Are you actually going to kill me?
I said shut up!
I'd never seen my sister that angry before. I was terrified of her.
Police, open up!
I had no idea how long I'd been asleep or what day it was. There was a loud bang as the door came off its hinges. Angel ran cowering in the corner, crying.
Officers, thank God you found me. My boyfriend, Ethan, he went crazy and locked us in here. Save it, Miss Cordello. We already have Ethan in custody. He told us everything.
An hour later, we were at the police station. Angel and Ethan had been arrested and were being interrogated.
Hey, Adam, I'd like a statement from you. What happened after we spoke on the phone?
Detective Shaw had just finished briefing my dad. Mom had been taken to the hospital. Finding out the truth about Angel was too much for her to take. I told the detective everything that happened. Did you find Joe?
Yes, Angel and Ethan had him in another room at the cabin.
How did he get mixed up in all this?
A few months ago, Joe asked Angel out on a date, but she said no. Then last week, she called him out of the blue and said she had reconsidered. She suggested they go to the cabin. She lied that she had rented it for the weekend.
Let me guess, Ethan was at the cabin waiting.
Yes, they tried to frame him for Angel's kidnapping, but Ethan got arrested collecting the ransom money at the fountain.
Days later, the Angel Cordello and Ethan Cake story was on every news channel. Their photos were splashed across newspapers. Reporters were camped out on our front lawn. Angel was out on bail and back in my parents' house. She apologized to my parents and promised to change. I wish I believed her. This week's topic will be ethics. Throughout the week, we'll answer the following questions. What is ethics? What are examples of ethics?
I hated Mondays. I bet I could get away with a nap. Nothing fun ever happened at Oakwood High, so what would I miss if I just zoned out for 10 minutes? Nothing, right? Wrong. Turns out, we were about to have a very interesting Monday. Stick around and find out how a teacher almost lost his life for being too enthusiastic about his job. I closed my eyes and my mind went to my best friend Jason and that almost kiss a few weeks ago.
This week's topic will be ethics. Throughout the week, we'll answer the following questions. What is ethics? What are examples of ethics? What?
I could have sworn Mr. Scott said this exact same thing right before I dozed off. Mr. Scott, are you all right?
Sure am, Lynn. Is something the matter?
You just said the same exact thing you said 10 minutes ago, word for word.
Lynn, I just started the lesson now. 10 minutes ago, I wasn't even in this class.
He's crazy. Must be all the ink he inhales burying his face in so many books.
Allison, that's not a nice thing to say about anyone, much less your teacher. Detention for you and anyone else who disrupts my class. Good morning, class. This week's topic will be ethics.
I'm right. You are crazy. You just sent me to detention while you should be in a psych ward.
Why would I send you to detention, Allison? I literally just walked through the door.
Whatever. I'm out of here. I'm not waiting until you start foaming from your mouth and asking us to take you to our leader.
Good morning, class. This week's topic will be ethics.
The whole class erupted. While some students ran out of the classroom, I remained in my seat, all my focus on Mr. Scott. I got out of my seat and slowly approached him.
Lynn, would you please go back to your seat? I'm about to begin the class, unless you need something. And why is the class almost empty today?
Mr. Scott, I was cut short when the school principal walked in.
Mr. Scott, could you please follow me to my office? That is, if you don't need to return to your mothership.
The principal laughed nervously, and a few students joined him.
What's this about, Turner?
Well, it's been brought to my attention that you're acting strange, and after watching the videos, I have to agree. Please come with me.
What are you talking about? I just got here. Haven't even started my lesson.
Mr. Scott, please, don't make this any harder than it already is. Parents are calling my office demanding I assure them of their children's safety. Students are running up and down claiming you've been replaced by an alien. I need to contain the situation before we have a riot on our hands.
Mr. Scott got up from his desk and followed Principal Turner out of the classroom. Lynn's phone.
Of course it's your phone, unless you've been replaced by an alien too. Do you have a bald head and huge eyes occupying half your face?
Suddenly, there were butterflies in my stomach. Jason, not you too. Mr. Scott is not an alien. He's probably just sick or exhausted. How did you hear about it anyway? Isn't your school like in the middle of nowhere?
Haha, contrary to popular belief, us public school goers own phones too. The videos of your teacher going cuckoo are all over the internet. How's the situation on the ground?
Situation on the ground? It's just a few students overreacting and making ridiculous claims. I'm sure most just want an excuse to skip class.
Okay, if you say so, but promise to call me if Mr. Scott starts to shapeshift or grow two heads.
Bye, Jason. I hung up before he could say anything else. I felt like the butterflies would fly right out of my mouth. Then Principal Turner would truly lose his mind. The school public address system cackled and Principal Turner started to speak.
Hello everyone, this is your principal. I'm sure by now you're aware of all the unusual events that occurred earlier. I'd like to assure every student that there is no threat to our safety. I kindly ask that students return to class. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
There were a few groans and protests from students who clearly preferred alien hunting to going back to class. On Thursday, while at lunch, a police car arrived at the school. 2 uniformed policemen got out and were greeted by a nervous-looking Mr. Turner. Together, they walked towards the administration building. This must be about Mr. Scott, I thought to myself. He was still not in school, and nobody seemed to have information on his whereabouts. I considered following them and eavesdropping, but I decided to wait and talk to Mr. Turner later. I was chair of the journalism club, and I could use that as an excuse to go see Turner. Mr. Turner, is everything okay? I saw the police and wondered if something was wrong. Is this about Mr. Scott? Is he okay? That's his car, right?
Lynn, the officers were just checking on the school after Monday's scare. Please, go back to lunch.
Where's Mr. Scott anyway? I thought he'd be back to school by now.
He's receiving treatment at the Oak General Psychiatric Ward. I visited him yesterday, and I'm sure he'll be back soon. Now, go back to your lunch.
After school, I went straight to Jason's. We hadn't spoken since he called to cancel our meeting, but I hoped he'd be happy to see me. I was dying to share with him what I'd seen and heard during lunch. I rang his bell, and the door was answered by his mom.
Lynn, hello. Here to see Jason? He's not home, but you could call him and find out when he'll be home.
That's all right, Mrs. Brown. I can come back later. I was walking down the steps of their front door when Jason's car drove in.
Look, Jason's home. Please, come in.
Sure thing, Mrs. Brown. Can I talk to Jason first? We'll be right in.
No problem, Lynn.
Jason got out of his car and stopped when he saw me. I suddenly felt foolish for thinking I could show up unannounced and expect him to be happy to see me. I'm sorry I didn't call before coming. I'll leave if that's what you want.
Leave? I was gonna call you tonight. I'm glad you're here. Can we go for a drive and talk?
We got into his car and he turned it back on, backing out of the driveway. Minutes later, he pulled up to a dirt road behind the school property line and parked next to a huge oak tree.
So remember my big sister Jess? She sort of knows Mr. Scott. Actually, it's more than that. She and Mr. Scott are dating.
What? Are you serious?
Positive. Wait, there's more. So after the drama on Monday, she called him, but he didn't answer. She went over to his house and he wasn't home. Yesterday, she came over to your school to see if he was back. Your principal told her that Mr. Scott was admitted at Oak General. She drove to the hospital only to be told that there wasn't any Aiden Scott admitted. Lynn, a missing persons report has been filed by Mr. Scott's brother. Jess is going out of her mind, especially after she was questioned by police.
Jason, are you sure? Principal Turner claimed to have visited Mr. Scott at the hospital yesterday.
Then he lied. Wait, you spoke to him? When?
Today, during lunch, some policemen showed up at school, and when I saw them with Turner, I followed them. After they left, I walked up to Turner and asked him what was going on.
Lynn, look, there's a car approaching.
The car drove past us and onto a clearing a few meters ahead. Jay, that's Principal Turner's car. What is he doing here? I got out of Jason's car and ran towards Turner's car.
What the heck, Lynn? Have you completely lost your mind?
No, Jay. Something is going on, and I think Turner is involved somehow. Mr. Turner, it's me, Lynn, from school. I'm here with Jason. Please open your window. The car door opened so fast, it knocked me on my butt. Out came Mr. Turner, but before I could react, he ran across the field into some shrubs.
Lynn, are you hurt? I swear, if he bruised you,
It's all my fault. I'm so sorry.
Allison, what are you doing in Turner's car? Why are you crying? Did he do something to you? Allison could barely get a word out as she sobbed uncontrollably.
Mr. Scott. Turner. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Allison, you're not making much sense. You said something about Mr. Scott? Do you know where he is? The police and his family are looking for him.
It wasn't supposed to be this way. All I did was tell him my secret. I didn't mean for him to get hurt. I'm so sorry.
Mr. Scott is hurt? You hurt him?
Oh, no. Not me. Dan, Mr. Turner did. I know where Mr. Scott is, but I don't know if he's alive or dead.
Allison broke into fresh sobs, and she was close to being hysterical now. In the distance, we heard police sirens, and soon we saw red and blue flashing lights approaching us.
I called the police. I also called Jess.
Soon the field was flooded by flashing lights from 3 police vehicles. Several uniformed officers ran towards.
Good evening, kids. My name is Detective Ryan Bailey. I believe one of you called the station claiming to have information on an active missing persons case.
That'd be me. Allison here told us that she knows where Mr. Scott is. Tell him, Allison.
He's at the school in the storage room, next to the principal's office.
The detective spoke briefly to the uniformed officers who escorted Allison to one of their cars. We informed him about Turner running, and he wrote it down. After the detective left, Jason and I drove to the school and parked outside the gate, then walked to the administration block. An ambulance was parked in front of the main entrance. Jay, look, that's Mr. Scott on the stretcher. Paramedics carried him into the ambulance. As the ambulance left, blaring its siren, we were joined by a man who introduced himself as Mr. Aiden's brother, Sam. Let's follow the ambulance to Oak General. My mom is on duty tonight, and I bet she'll let us talk to Mr. Scott. When we arrived at Oak General, there was one police car parked near the ambulance entrance. I called my mom, and she met us at the hospital reception.
Lynn, dear, I heard what happened to your teacher. Do you know who did this to him and why?
Mom, hey, we don't know the whole story yet, but we're hoping you'd take us to his room. He might talk to us.
Sure, but only for a few minutes. I could get in trouble for this.
Minutes later, we were beside Mr. Scott's hospital bed. Mr. Scott, how are you feeling? What happened to you?
Lynn, hi. I'm feeling much better. They've got me on IV fluids. Well, it all started on Monday when I went to your class planning to fake mental illness.
Mr. Scott, what has gotten into you?
We were in Principal Turner's office and I knew I was in huge trouble. It was time to come clean. Mr. Turner, I'm sorry about all this. When I came up with the plan to fake a memory lapse, I did not anticipate the chaos it would bring. I thought it would be a harmless social experiment that would benefit my students at the end of the week. I wanted to gauge my students' reaction to mental illness. You see, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and...
You did what now? You mean to tell me that you're not actually sick?
I sat there as Mr. Turner all but fired me. There was a knock on his door and he excused himself and left. Minutes later, the door opened and I thought Turner was back, only to see that it was Allison. Allison, what are you doing here? Have you been crying?
Is Turner here?
He was, but he just stepped out briefly. Is everything okay?
Not really. I'm here because Turner is not picking my calls. He's been avoiding me all week, and I don't know what to do because I'm pregnant.
Oh, Allison, have you told your parents? Why come to Turner? What about the father of the baby?
It's Turner. I told him I was pregnant and he has been quiet since. I need him to tell me what to do.
Allison, are you sure? Mr. Turner is not only the principal of this school, He's married and at least 30 years your senior. Be careful you don't ruin a good man's name over a prank. How old even are you?
Relax. I'm 20 years old. If you don't believe me, then ask him. Doesn't matter anyway. You'll forget this conversation any minute now.
With that, she ran out the door in tears. I stood up to run after her, but bumped right into Mr. Turner.
Was that Allison?